What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'll be ranking every single episode from season 2. So let's talk about this. Now, last year I ranked every single episode from season 1, and today I'll be ranking every single episode from season 2. Now, before we, of course, start ranking all 20 episodes, I do have to mention that this is, of course, my opinions, so feel free to hate the episode I like or an episode I hate. This is, of course, my opinions as always, and comment down below and rank all 20 episodes in your opinion as the worst to your best favorite episode from season 2. But without further ado, let's rank all 20 episodes. Now, coming in dead last, we of course got United We Fall. Now, it makes sense why I put this in the bottom of the list, just because that this whole premise is about the ninjas being exiled by the City of Temples until they had to do this whole race to, of course, get back into the tournament. That's basically the whole episode. I hate this episode, I despise this episode because this was an episode to promote the brand new Ninja Tune combo vehicle set that we got in the summer of this year. And the price is so bad, the set is also bad, plus the whole race itself was kind of lame and boring. And this episode I put in the bottom of the list. I can't say this is the worst episode, I mean, there are some parts that are bad, but some in this episode are really good. I really like the Wildfire versus Cinder fight. I really like that. And the Sora versus Kizzy fight. I also really like that. And especially, I really like the ending with, of course, Eren and Roz telling Eren that Masaru was the one who caused the merge. I mean, in the end, it is my least favorite episode, but there are some good moments, but everything else is just bad thanks to, of course, the whole race itself. Coming in at number 19, we of course got the Shape of Motion. It was a pretty filler episode, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not filler. There is a plot within this episode where the Source Dragon Emotion came by with the ninjas and telling them the massive plot of someone stealing all of the Archdragon's crowns, and they need to go to the Tournament of the Sources to find out who did it. But the whole episode was basically about the matriarch dragon, of course, dying, and the baby, how they had to, of course, bring the baby back to the mountain dragon tribes, all with, of course, Raptin fighting against the ninja, which it was okay of a fight. I mean, Raptin was pretty annoying this episode, especially with Dorama. I mean, both of those characters did, in fact, return for season 2. And I put this in the bottom below because it wasn't really that entertaining, except for the fact we did got some information about the Tournament of the Sources and the Archdragons being dead, which their crowns were, of course, stolen. But overall, it's a fine episode. Coming in at number 18, we of course got Clues and Suspects, which was kind of a meh episode just because of the whole premise that got revealed that Black was the one who rigged the games and was the one who was with allies with Roz to give all of the elemental powers to Roz. I mean, what a plot twist this is because it was kind of lame, and we kind of knew it was, of course, Black because it was between two characters. It could either be Black and Roby. Well, it wasn't gonna be Roby because why? So they, of course, gave it to Black because no one didn't care about Black. And yeah, it was a kind of a unsurprising plot twist, I guess. But this episode did have some good parts, such as Lloyd versus Not. I really like that fight. And most definitely, the highlight from this episode has to be the Sora versus Frack battle. I think that's one of the best fights in the Tournament of the Sources. I really like that, and Frack, of course, not choosing to wear the wolf mask. But overall, this whole episode had to deal with, of course, Black being the one who rigged the Tournament of the Sources. Coming in number 17, we of course got Secrets of the Wilderness. This was an okay episode. It's just this episode is, of course, things happening right now between three plots, such as, of course, the main ninja going to the wilderness, with the B plot with Cole and Zane, with Glandaria and Bonzel trying to find a way to keep Bonzel away from, of course, Roz because they need Bonzel. And that's basically it for this episode. I mean, there are some good moments, such as Cole fighting off the administration. I thought that was pretty cool, especially that cameo from, of course, Jay in the beginning of the episode, which I really like. But overall, I don't have a lot of things to say about this episode because, to be honest, this is a forgetful episode in my opinion because this is just things happening between, of course, the whole ninja team. Coming in at number 16, we got To Mysterium. Now, this is an okay episode as well. I just don't like the fact that Dorama is in this episode, which Dorama I don't really like as a character. I mean, he's a pretty forgetful Dragon's Rising character, but I just think that the whole Dorama fight was kind of okay, but not the worst, I guess. But I mean, this episode is alright. I really like this whole adventure episode between Zane, Bonzo, and Cole. I really like that, but the drama itself, not so much. Now we're starting to get to the point where I like these episodes. So for number 15, we of course got Fugitives from Madness, which I really like. This is a good episode. I really like our introduction to, of course, Clandaria. I really like her as a character. Wish we got more with her, but besides that, she's a decent character to add to Dragon's Rising. Um, Kai learning Rising Dragon, I thought that was a great highlight moment from this episode. The Blood Moon, of course, Rising, I especially really like. And that's pretty much it for this episode. I think this is a pretty decent episode with Glandaria's introduction and reuniting with Bonsal, and Kai being the first ninja to learn Rising Dragon. I think this is a pretty good episode. Coming in at number 14, we of course got Enter the City of Temples. I really like this episode. This is a pretty good episode. I really like, of course, Lloyd finally becomes a master in this episode. Lloyd training the ninja, and most perhaps the highlight of this episode has to be the ninjas fighting against the city temple guards. I really like that. I really love this fight scene because they're fighting in the air against the temple guards. I really like that. And overall, this is a pretty good episode. I don't have anything else to say other than this is a good and fantastic episode. Coming in at number 13, we of course got Truth and Lies. I really like this episode as well. Continuing off from the last episode with, of course, the ninjas racing, which I, of course, hate from the beginning. But this episode overall, after the race has ended, is pretty good. With, of course, Roz telling more about Master Wu causing the merge to Eren, to of course more of the Tournament of the Sorcerers fights between Zeatrix and Euphrasia, Lloyd and Mr. Pale, Nia and Not, Frack and Cole, and Sora and Cinder. But the highlight of this episode has to be, of course, when Eren finally learns Spinjitzu by Roz's teachings, which doesn't go that well because Eren knows that he learned Spinjitzu, but his Spinjitzu is a bit corrupted, thanks to, of course, Ross's teachings, and I can't wait to explore more of Eren's corrupted Spinjitzu later on in Season 3. Coming in at number 12, we of course got Beyond the Phantasm Cave. I really like this episode just because we get to explore other ninjas' fears inside the Phantasm Cave. We of course get to see Lloyd's fear of not becoming a good master, Eren of course trying to find his parents, Sora being captive once again at Imperium, and most definitely one of the best ones has to be Nia thinking that Jay has lost his memory and Jay not remembering who Nia is, which is deeply sad. But overall, this is a fantastic episode. But let's move on to number 11. Coming in at number 11, we of course got the Blood Moon. Now this is a fantastic first episode starter just because that we're introduced to Lloyd's visions, Cinder, and the Wolf Mask itself. I really love the introduction to the Wolf Mask Shadow Dojo, and really like Cinder's introduction, and I really like Lloyd's visions. And overall, this is a great start of the second season of Dragon's Rising, and we're getting into the top 10, which I think these 10 episodes are probably one of the best episodes yet. So let's move to the top 10. Coming in at number 10, we of course got Force from the East, which is a fantastic episode because there are two plots in this episode. The A plot being, of course, the ninjas fighting against Eagle and Ronti because it's a test, while the B plot would, of course, Bonzel, Geode, and of course the rest of the finders trying to fight against the Wolf Clan, while of course Cole has to save the finders and bring them to the monastery of Spinjitzu. This is of course a fantastic episode with of course Cole fighting off the Wolf Clan and the ninjas being tested against Eagle and Rontu. I really like that. And this is, of course, a fantastic episode. Coming in at number 9, we got the spell at the waterfall. Now, this is another great episode just because it gives us lore about the Forbidden Five and Bonzo's history. And I really like the moment where Bonzo actually met Master Wu. I wish we got more with Master Wu and Bonzo in the flashbacks, but it's okay because we needed some Master Wu content in Season 2 because Master Wu does not show up a lot in Season 2. Either way, fantastic episode giving us a backstory of Bonzo herself and the Forbidden Five of how they were, of course, banished, thanks to, of course, Gladoria. Coming in at number 8, we got the Forest of Spirits. I really like this episode because it's just things happening, but everyone has a role to do in this episode. Well, some characters. But the highlight of this episode has to be where Roz, of course, fight against Aaron. I really like that. And this is, of course, foreshadowing where they, of course, beat each other again in the second half of Season 2. Overall, fantastic episode. And this, of course, sets up the finale of Season 2, Part 1. Coming in at number 7, we of course got the final game. I really like this just because of the Sora versus Dot fight. Also dealing with Cole and Aaron figuring out that Master Wu was the one who caused the merge. And I don't really like the ending or twist reveal that Black was the one who was rigging the games in the Tournament of the Sources. But I really like, of course, not revealing his plans of using all the elemental powers to free the rest of the Forbidden Five instead of the Blood Moon. I really like that. But overall, fantastic episode. This is a very good episode. Now we're of course coming upon the top 6, which has to be one of my favorite episodes. 6 episodes in total, which are definitely my favorite episodes from Season 2. So let's talk about number 6, that being Rising Ninja. Now this is a great finale to, of course, Season 2 Part 1, with, of course, everyone joining in on the fight against the Ritual of the Blood Moon. Kai using Rising Dragon to fight against, of course, Cinder. However, it gets banished to Nether Space, which frees Not. Seeing Not for the first time was fantastic, fighting against the ninjas, especially when Nia and Lloyd were able to unlock Rising Dragon, which I absolutely love. And I really like this episode, especially the animation and the choreography. Wildbrain nailed it out of the park. I really like this episode, and it has some good fight scenes overall. Coming in at number 5, we of course got They Gathered for the Feast. Now, I really like this episode because we get more of the City of Temples, and getting to see the feast was fantastic. But the highlight for me is definitely the attacker bot fighting off the ninja. I really like that, especially Lloyd against the attacker bot. I said it once before in a previous video. I really like the Lloyd versus attacker bot fight because Lloyd had to fight off against the attacker bot without using his elemental powers. So Lloyd using combat against the attacker bot was just fantastic. The animation was fantastic, the choreography and fight scenes were fantastic as well. Wildbrain nailed it out of the park once again with that fight scene. And overall, this was of course a great episode overall. Coming in at number 4, we got The Sword Shatters. I really love this episode, probably because the most highlighted part about this episode was the Lloyd versus Matrix fight, which overall is one of the best fight scenes that we ever got in the Ninjago franchise. One of, if not one of the best, out of the Dragon's Rising era. And probably one of the best fights in Tournament of the Sources. Now, there is, of course, a montage of the competitors fighting each other, but this fight scene between Lloyd versus Matrix was fantastic. The soundtrack was beautiful, the fight scene and the animation was fantastic. Like I said with the previous two, and for this one, Wildbrain nailed it out of the park with this fight scene because it was so good. Alongside with the soundtrack, it was fantastic as well. And overall, this is a fantastic episode. Coming in at number 3, we got Elements of Betrayal, which is of course the Season 2 finale. I really like this episode. The best part has to be Kai's entrance. I really like the soundtrack for this episode. This was fantastic. Nod versus everyone was fantastic. Kai versus Nod was probably one of the best moments for Kai fans. And you guys, you gotta love the Kai entrance with the soundtrack. It was so fantastic. I would consider replaying that moment like 100,000 times because that moment when Kai returns from Nether Space was just fantastic. And of course, the fight scene, the animation, the choreography, it was fantastic. I mean, I was lost for words when I saw the episode for the first time, and it was so good. And of course, one of the best endings we got for Dragon's Rising to this point. Coming in at number 2, we of course got Inside the Maze. Now, this is a fantastic episode just because of the Jade versus Leah fight. I mean, this is what most Ninjago fans had anticipated for, and this episode, of course, delivered. I really like the Jade versus Leah fight, and of course, Jay being corrupted with Shatterspin and losing all his goodness was, of course, very sad and it was heartbreaking. But this episode was so good, especially the Jay versus Nia fight. I really love the fight between Nia and Jay, and Nia trying to convince Jay that he was once a ninja and being manipulated by Roz. I really love that moment. But the fight ends on a sad note because, yeah, Jay now hates Nia, and Nia is just sad because the one she loved is now gone, and this was pretty sad for Nia. But this episode was fantastic. Not to, of course, mention the Zane versus Zoro fight. I really like that fight. I wish it could go longer, and I wish Zane still kept going throughout the tournament. But Zane, of course, lost that round, so that was kind of unfortunate. But let's move on to the best episode in season 2. Now, number 1 is of course Shattered Dreams, just because that this whole episode centers on one location, that being the Cloud Kingdom. I really love Cinder's fight. Cinder versus all the ninja was fantastic, especially the Lloyd versus Cinder fight. The choreography and fight scene and animation did a fantastic job showing Cinder using his Shatter Spin and the ninja's capabilities of trying their best to fight off Cinder. That was fantastic. Probably one of my favorite episodes from season 2. I know some Ninjago fans really enjoyed the finale episodes and was considered as one of the best episodes from season 2. But for me, I consider that episode 2, Shattered Dreams, is considered my favorite episode from season 2 just because of Cinder versus the Ninja. I think the soundtrack was fantastic, the animation was well done, and the fight scene itself was so good. I was lost for words for that. Same thing with, of course, elements of Betrayal and other episodes. But overall, this is indeed one of my favorite episodes from season 2. But yeah, that's of course my ranking of all 20 episodes for season 2. I mean, Shattered Dreams is obviously my favorite episode, while United We Fall is my least favorite episode. But overall, I had a blast ranking all 20 episodes. And comment down below on your thoughts on all 20 episodes, which one is of course your favorite episode, and which one is your least favorite episode. Leave it down in the comments down below, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until then, make sure you guys subscribe, turn on notifications whenever I post a brand new video, and until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!